you're going to actually live in one of those units, we can use rental property income from that subject property and kind of what it looks like. The challenge is that you don't want to overestimate how much income you're going to be getting. If the cost basis has shifted since they bought that, and so they could actually be reporting losses, but they're still liquidating their asset. They're still living high on the they're still living great, but that they are literally have like negative qualifying income. FHA is all about spreading risk around. That's how they can go and get somebody a mortgage for 580 credit, or that's how they can get you only 3.5% down on a 4 unit. It's because the way that they're spreading risk around with mortgage insurance.
Can the person who's buying that house, because we're going to be selling a couple of them, can they use the income that they're going to get from the rents as part of their qualification?
Yes.
And so the reason that I ask that is then, does that allow someone, like say Don is looking for a house, if he buys a 4-family house, is he now going to qualify for something a little bit higher than what he would otherwise qualify for?
So in the general case, yes. We can use rental income from the subject property as if it's income in your pocket right now.
Okay.
The rub there, there's two. Kind of depends on the loan program. And I'll set FHA loan program aside because there's like a whole other, we don't have to get into the weeds, but like there's a sticky rule with FHA that folks should be aware of, because FHA is a great program for this kind of thing because it's like only 3.5% down. 3.5% down to go up to 4 units is amazing.
Right.
Like there's no other loan program in Puerto Rico that allows that. Now, conventional in other parts of the U.S., like if we're talking Florida or you know any other continental part of the states, then they've just made new laws that or new rules and guidelines that you can go with only like 5% down, I think up to 4 units. But if it's going to be your primary home, if you're going to actually live in one of those units, we can use rental property income from that subject property and kind of what it looks like. The challenge is that you don't want to overestimate how much income you're going to be getting. That's a very easy mistake for us as a loan officer or the buyer to make, is because if we do some math and we calculate, okay, your estimated payment is going to be this amount.
Right.
And this unit and this unit and this unit, they're going to generate this much income. This is how much we expect. And then an appraiser goes out, and the appraiser says in there, because when you buy a multifamily property, right, one of the things that's on that specific type of appraisal is what's called a rent schedule, where the appraiser has to go and they have to write down like how much do they think fair market rent, how much income, long-term income, not short-term income, only long-term income can it generate. And if our numbers, if we're like threading the needle, if things are really tight and based on our expectation of what it's going to rent
And
for,
they come in low.
and they come in low, your deal's broken.
Right.
Like you just paid for an appraisal and probably title work and all these other things that
But
you're not going to be able to proceed.
What I'm hearing you say is you get to use the expected income, right? So you can buy a fully vacant 4-family house, and as long as you judge what the market rate rents are, and you could do that probably fairly easily by looking at what Section 8 would pay, or just go on Classificados and see what's renting in the area right around that house.
Definitely.
Just be safe, right? Like, so kind of
keep it low.
Keep it low.
Yeah,
keep it low.
keep it low.
If you
And as a
think
matter
you're going
of
to get
fact-
1,000 and Section 8's only going to pay $750, go with $750.
Yeah. There's actually a website, and I'll send you the link so that we can put it in the description, and I'll put it in my description.
Great.
But there's a link of, I think it's attached to HUD and FHA, that you can go to this link and it'll tell you for any town. I don't think it's municipality, or maybe it's by county. So municipality in Puerto Rico, but it includes Puerto Rico too. You can go in there and it'll tell you for a single family, double, like duplex, triplex, or fourplex, like how much in that area is the current fair market rental that we should expect.
Right.
Now, appraisers don't use that resource, but I've seen it be like really, really much closer than pretty much anything else that like, because usually if it's like, if you ask the listing agent, they're going to put some number that's kind of be higher.
Yeah.
If you ask, if
you ask the seller, you can't trust that.
No, exactly. But going back to one other quick thing that you mentioned that was really good and important is that it doesn't have to be rented out yet.
That's
for
amazing.
us to be able to use that as
Right.
income. Yeah,
That's
so
amazing.
that's really helpful.
So what that means, and not saying you should do this, but you can qualify your income based on the long-term rents, and you should qualify it based on the long-term rents. And then to the extent that you could rent it nightly on Airbnb after you've closed the loan, nobody's going to come and ask you those questions.
No, exactly. So they don't even care, aside from FHA. So like FHA stipulates this as it can't be like when you first move into that property, at least for the first year, it's not intended for short-term rental because that's considered riskier income. FHA is all about spreading risk around. That's how they can go and get somebody a mortgage for 580 credit, or that's how they can get you only 3.5% down on a 4 unit. It's because the way that they're spreading risk around with mortgage insurance.
Okay.
But if you were to like, so with staying with FHA for a sec, if you're trying to do the same thing, you want to buy, let's say, a 3 or 4 unit property with the FHA loan program because it's 3.5% down. Like,
Yeah.
you can't beat it. Well, there's a little rule called the FHA self-sufficiency test, where for the FHA to continue doing loans for folks that have beat up credit, a little bit risky situations, they want to know, the FHA wants to know that they could, if you default on that loan, they could kick you out, put people in there to rent it, and even if it's only 75% occupied at the fair market rental values of that market,
gonna pay.
it'll still pay the full mortgage payment for that loan, principal,
Okay.
interest, taxes, and insurance.
So that's part of the qualification then to get the loan.
Definitely. Well, a good loan officer is going to consider, if you're telling me you want to go buy a property and it's 4 units, $750,000, like big purchase that you want to do with an FHA loan, especially with rates being a little high right now, you have to be very mindful that if it doesn't pass the FHA self-sufficiency rule, you either need to bring a bunch more cash to lower that loan amount, or you need to find a cheaper insurance for the house, or something needs to happen, or lower rate, or something needs to happen to line the numbers up so that it passes that and you can close. Otherwise, you're not closing.
So in Puerto Rico, how high can you go with an FHA loan?
Oh man, that's a really good question. It depends on the number of units, and we can look up the numbers, but they're like weirdly specific numbers. I think for like a single family home with FHA, it's like $477,662, or it's something like very, very precise like that. But in general, I'd say, so if it's like 1 unit, it's about, I want to say it's like
$500,000,
470, just under, yeah. And then 2, 3, 4 units, I don't remember those specific numbers, but I think it goes up to just under $1 million for a 4 unit. If I'm not wrong, I have to double check that.
I had no idea it would go that high. That's
FHA lets you go
great.
For a 4 unit. Yeah,
that's really great. So recently you put out a video. I didn't see it yet, but I watched a lot of your videos. You were talking about how Act 60 people can get loans, and so I think that's a great topic. I think that fits our audience here quite well. So
cool.
What did you say in the video? And let's talk just a little bit about that. It's probably not too dissimilar to what we've been talking about, but maybe there's some little pointers that you can give.
Yeah, for sure. So again, I'll come back to that same idea, is that like we're talking about conventional types of loans, like at least the types of loans that our company is able to offer in Puerto Rico in this current like lending environment, which is, lenders right now are trying to avoid risk. I mean, they're always trying to, but right now with rates where they're at, that's an indication that they're even less tolerant of risk.
Right.
So we used to have all kinds of like fancy, cool programs that would have been great for Act 60 folks, especially people that have a large amount of assets. Like if there used to be like loans that we had here in Puerto Rico until November of 2022 that was asset based. We just looked at the size of the asset. We did some math to calculate how many monthly payments. Could you make 5 years worth of monthly payments just liquidating that asset? If the answer was yes, you had a loan.
Wow.
It was awesome. It was great.
When's that coming back?
Well, exactly. Like hopefully some of your viewership can maybe like reach out and lean on these, because there are lenders out there that they have these programs in other parts of the states.
Right.
They're licensed here right now. We've originated loans with them in Puerto Rico, but they're waiting. And they're waiting. And like I call the same lenders every month and say, I continue turning people away because like for Act 60. So to come back to your question, the idea is that it's for a conventional conforming loan, it's all based on qualifying income. You have to have the right amount of qualifying income from the right types of sources that we can accept and put on your mortgage application.
Right.
It doesn't matter how much money you've got in your bank account. It doesn't matter how big your asset is. It doesn't matter like how amazing your credit is. The only thing that matters, not only, but like the most important factor, so long as your credit is decent, is that you need to have qualifying income.
So that might eliminate some people who are here for Act 22 if they're not getting income anywhere else but personal capital gains.
So capital gains is an interesting one, because a lot of folks that live off of their capital gains, what they say is that they're living off capital gains. What's really happening is that they're liquidating pieces of their asset and living off of that, which is very similar, yes. But the big difference is that when I look as a loan officer at someone's tax returns and I go to Schedule D, which is where we see capital gains income, if the cost basis has shifted since they bought that, and so they could actually be reporting losses, but they're still liquidating their asset. They're still living high on the hog. They're still living great, but that they are literally have like negative qualifying income. And so I have to tell folks, I've had it happen so many times. That's one of the reasons I made that recent video, is because I'm having the same conversations with folks that keep running in and getting stuck on the same thing. And if they would have just known like a year or two ago how to kind of structure things or what to tell their tax preparer, then maybe these.
Hey guys, thanks for watching that. Subscribe to our channel, watch this next, and then also check out the pinned content for more great content, guys. God bless.